A soft morning light spilled through the curtains, dust motes floating lazily in the warm, golden rays. The little girl, Emma, sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, her sketchbook open but untouched. Outside, birds chirped in a gentle rhythm, and a faint breeze stirred the autumn leaves. Everything felt ordinary, calm, the kind of peace that lingers quietly, almost unnoticed. Then, a subtle sound, a soft shuffle, broke the stillness. A small, golden-furred dog appeared at the doorway, his head tilted, eyes gentle yet curious. He didn't bark or rush in, he simply paused, as if sensing something invisible. Emma's lips quivered in a shy smile, and she extended a hand. The dog stepped forward, his paw lightly brushing the floor, stopping just short of her sketchbook. He tilted his head again, observing her silence with an understanding far beyond words. Emma felt a flutter in her chest, a warmth she hadn't expected. The dog circled once, then rested his head near her knee, nudging gently. His eyes held an unspoken question and perhaps an answer. Every movement seemed intentional, purposeful, almost as if he knew exactly what she needed. And then, he froze, ears perked, gaze fixed toward the window. Emma followed his line of sight, puzzled. What had caught his attention? The soft autumn breeze seemed ordinary, yet the dog's focus was unwavering. What the dog sensed would change everything. Morning light spilled softly through the bedroom window, warming the wooden floorboards in a quiet, golden glow. Dust motes drifted lazily, catching the sun in tiny specks that shimmered like stars fallen close to the earth. Outside, a gentle wind rustled the autumn leaves. The world seemed peaceful, ordinary, untouched by hurry. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, her sketchbook open but empty. A colored pencil hovered loosely in her small hand. She stared at the blank page, lips pressed together, eyes distant. Her thoughts whispered quietly, half-formed, fragile, and private. A soft shuffle at the doorway broke the stillness. Emma's head tilted. She blinked. And there he was. A golden-furred dog, small but poised, appeared in the doorway. His eyes were gentle, warm, and curious. He did not bark. He did not rush. He simply paused. Head tilted slightly to the side, ears catching the soft creak of the floor. Emma's lips curved into a tentative smile. She extended a hand, slowly, as if the gesture itself needed careful thought. The dog stepped forward, light paws brushing the floor, careful, deliberate. He stopped just short of her sketchbook. Tilted his head again. Watched. Waited. Emma exhaled softly. Her heartbeat seemed louder in the quiet. Hi, hello, she whispered. Her voice felt small in the room. The dog nudged her hand gently with his nose, careful, respectful. Then he lowered his head near her knee. Warm, soft, patient. His gaze met hers, steady and unblinking, as if understanding every unspoken word. Emma reached out, brushing the fur behind his ears. He leaned into the touch, sighing quietly. Every movement seemed intentional, purposeful. Connected. A presence that spoke without words. Minutes passed in a slow, golden haze. Emma and the dog remained in the quiet, sharing the space, sharing the morning. A gentle curiosity stirred in her chest, a feeling she hadn't expected. Then the dog froze. Ears perked, gaze fixed toward the window. Emma followed his line of sight, puzzled. Outside, the wind blew through the branches. The leaves danced. And yet, the dog's focus was unwavering. Emma's small hand hovered above his fur. What, do you see? She whispered. The dog's eyes remained locked, calm but alert. His body tense in a purposeful way, not afraid, not frantic, but deliberate. The room felt stiller. Slower. The ordinary morning held a quiet suspense, delicate, almost magical. Emma pressed her palm to his head. Are you waiting for something? He shifted slightly, nuzzled her hand, then sat back on his haunches, still staring. The golden light pooled around them, warm and intimate. Time seemed to stretch, as if the world had paused to let this moment breathe. And Emma felt it, something unspoken, something important lingering in the space between them. Something the dog sensed, something she couldn't yet name. A small shiver of anticipation ran through her. What the dog sensed would change everything. The morning stretched on, soft and unhurried. Sunlight filtered through the window, scattering patterns across the wooden floor. Emma remained seated, sketchbook now closed beside her. The dog, whose presence had become quietly commanding, shifted slightly, adjusting his position to stay close, his golden fur catching the light in gentle highlights. He watched her with calm attentiveness. Every small movement Emma made, the tilt of her head, the fidget of her fingers, the soft hum of her breath, seemed to register in his alert gaze. He didn't press for attention. He simply mirrored her mood, a quiet echo of her emotions. Emma leaned forward, fingers brushing the floor, then paused. A small sigh escaped her lips. The dog leaned in slightly, nudging her hand with his nose. Not pushy, just a subtle, careful gesture. A question in his eyes. You always know?" she whispered. Her voice trembled slightly, not with fear, but with wonder. The dog tilted his head, as if acknowledging her words. Then, deliberately, he moved closer to the sketchbook, stepping softly around her crossed legs. He sniffed the edge, pawed gently at the open page, and looked back at her. His gaze was patient, encouraging. Emma laughed quietly, a small, soft sound, full of surprise. "You want me to draw?" she asked, unsure. She lifted a colored pencil. He wagged his tail slightly, not with exuberance, but with quiet expectation. With each line Emma drew, the dog watched, tilting his head as if he understood the ebb and flow of her creativity. When she paused, unsure of what to add next, he nudged her hand again, guiding her gently, silently suggesting, "Keep going, trust yourself." Hours could have passed in that golden room. The world outside hummed with life, birds chirping, leaves rustling, but inside, time slowed. Every stroke of pencil, every movement of the dog, felt significant. Each small act was laden with intention, purpose, and understanding. Emma began talking quietly, soft words spilling into the morning air. Not full sentences, just fragments. I don't know what to do, sometimes I feel," she trailed off. The dog's ears twitched, and he leaned closer, resting his head lightly on her knee. Warm, reassuring, a living anchor. She smiled, brushing her fingers along his fur. You get me," she whispered. "Even when I don't say anything." The dog's eyes never wavered. They held a depth that made her pause. Not just recognition, understanding. He seemed to know when to stay quiet, when to offer gentle guidance, when to simply exist in the space beside her. A small breeze drifted through the open window, lifting strands of her hair and rustling the pages of the sketchbook. The dog perked up, ears attentive. He padded to the window, sniffing the air with delicate precision, then looked back at her. It was as if he sensed something unseen, something important. Emma followed his gaze, a shiver of curiosity running through her. "What is it?" she asked softly. Her heart beat a little faster, not with fear, but with wonder. The dog returned to her side, nudging her hand again, then sat down. His eyes met hers, warm and steady. No words were needed. The quiet companionship, the intuitive presence, spoke volumes. And in that stillness, Emma began to understand. Some things didn't need to be explained. Some connections didn't need words. The dog's gentle intuition had begun to guide her, helping her navigate a world that sometimes felt too loud, too overwhelming. She rested her head lightly against his side, feeling the steady rhythm of his breathing. Every beat was a reminder she wasn't alone. Not really. Not with him here. And as the light shifted through the room, casting long, soft shadows, Emma knew that this day, the day she met the dog who understood her silence, was only the beginning. What he sensed was only the start of something much larger. The afternoon sun slanted through the window, casting long, soft shadows across Emma's room. Dust motes floated lazily in the golden light, shimmering with each quiet movement. The little girl sat on the floor, sketchbook now open again, pencils arranged in a loose rainbow. She watched the dog carefully, noticing the subtleties she had missed before: the gentle tilt of his head, the soft twitch of his ears, the way he adjusted his body to her moods. He was patient. Almost unnervingly so. Every movement seemed calculated, intentional, yet never intrusive. It was as if he could read not only her silence, but the quiet hesitations of her heart. Emma leaned back, resting on her hands, eyes narrowing slightly in thought. "How do you do that?" she whispered to him, though she knew the answer wouldn't come in words. The dog's tail swished slowly, a gentle metronome in the room's quiet. He nudged a small, crumpled pencil closer to her. Emma picked it up, surprised. You want me to finish it?" she asked, tentative. The dog sat back on his haunches, eyes steady, calm, encouraging. He didn't move again, only waited, as if giving her the space to make her own choice. Curiosity bloomed in her chest. Every gesture of his seemed purposeful. Every glance, deliberate. She watched him more closely now, noticing the small details, the way he tilted his head when she hesitated, the way he would pause, waiting for her to act, never rushing, never forcing. Emma tilted her sketchbook toward him, showing her incomplete drawing. The dog's eyes scanned it slowly, not with judgment, but with awareness. Then he leaned gently, brushing his nose against the page, nudging it slightly forward. She laughed quietly, a warm, soft sound. You really do understand," she whispered, brushing his ears. She paused. "But, how?" The dog rested his head near her knee, looking up with patient eyes. His presence was comforting, steady, grounding. It was as if he held a silent promise: you are not alone, and you are understood. Emma shifted slightly, sitting cross-legged, watching him. She realized she had spent hours alone, talking only to herself, and yet, in this quiet companionship, she felt seen. Her thoughts, messy, hesitant, and often unspoken, were acknowledged, in the softest, gentlest way possible. She tilted her head, curiosity now tinged with wonder. "Do you really feel what I feel?" she asked softly. The dog's gaze remained fixed on her, steady, warm. Not answering, but somehow affirming. Emma rose slowly to her knees, moving a few steps back to observe him more fully. The dog mirrored her subtle movements, adjusting his position just slightly, maintaining a delicate balance between presence and space. Every action was intentional, every gesture filled with gentle awareness. A breeze stirred the curtains, carrying the scent of autumn leaves from outside. The dog's ears twitched. He padded to the window briefly, sniffing the air, then returned to Emma, circling her once before settling near her feet again. He sat calmly, patient, connected. Emma knelt beside him, brushing her fingers along his fur. She watched him closely now, trying to understand the rhythm of his intuition. The way he seemed to anticipate her thoughts, her hesitations, her quiet questions. The way he moved, not randomly, but with purpose. A small smile curved her lips. "You're special," she murmured. "Not magical. Not extraordinary. Just understanding. Attentive. Present. Real." The golden afternoon light bathed them both, warm and intimate. Emma realized she had never felt so quietly seen, so gently guided, so connected. The dog didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence was enough. And as the shadows lengthened, stretching across the floor like a soft embrace, Emma knew her curiosity had shifted into something deeper. She wanted to understand him. To learn the rhythm of his intuition. To follow wherever he might lead her, even in silence. Because in that quiet companionship, she sensed that he knew more than she did. And that knowledge, that understanding, was only the beginning. What he sensed was leading her towards something remarkable, something she could not yet imagine. The soft afternoon light began to fade, giving way to a gentle, golden glow that warmed the room like a comforting blanket. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, her sketchbook now resting nearby. The dog was at her side, lying on the wooden floor with his head gently propped on his paws. His eyes, calm and steady, followed her every movement. Emma reached out, stroking the soft fur along his back. He leaned into her hand, small sighs escaping as if in quiet approval. The connection between them had grown into something more profound than curiosity. It was trust. A shared rhythm, unspoken yet deeply understood. "Do you like it when I talk to you?" Emma asked softly. Her voice trembled slightly, carrying a mixture of awe and newfound comfort. The dog lifted his head, tilting it slightly. A small wag of his tail answered, patient, quiet, full of warmth. She laughed softly, the sound airy and gentle. "I think I'm starting to like you a lot." She paused, letting the words linger in the warm air. The dog pressed closer, nudging her hand with his nose, as if confirming that he felt the same. The golden light from the window caught the strands of her hair, creating a halo around her small frame. Emma traced the light with her eyes, then looked down at the dog. He was more than a companion, he was a guide, a quiet presence that seemed to sense the rhythms of her heart. Hours passed in soft, deliberate moments. Emma drew quietly, while the dog watched, occasionally nudging a pencil closer when she hesitated. When she laughed at a crooked line or a smudged sketch, he tilted his head, ears twitching, as if savoring the shared joy. Each small act of attention deepened their bond. Emma shifted to the floor, resting her head on the dog's back. Warm fur pressed to her cheek, steady breathing beneath her ear. A gentle, grounding comfort enveloped her. "You're really special," she whispered. "I've never felt like this before." The dog responded with a soft, contented sigh, eyes half closed, fully present. He seemed to understand the emotion she hadn't yet found words for. No rush, no demands, just a quiet, patient companionship. Even outside, the wind played with the leaves, a soft rustling that harmonized with their calm. Every so often, the dog would glance toward the window, attentive to sounds Emma couldn't hear. Then he'd return to her, nudging her hand again, reassuring. Emma smiled. You know me, don't you?" Her fingers traced the curve of his ear. "Even the parts one hide." She laughed softly, a delicate, airy sound. "How do you know?" The dog simply leaned closer, resting his head lightly on her shoulder. He didn't need to answer, his presence spoke volumes. Warmth. Acceptance. Understanding. The kind of connection that only needed silence. As the light faded further, Emma stood and moved to the window, looking outside at the quiet garden. The dog followed, padding softly behind her. She leaned on the sill, her small hands pressed together. He pressed gently against her leg, a comforting weight, a reminder that she was not alone. "You make things easier," she whispered. "I don't have to be so afraid of my own thoughts." She turned to look at him. His eyes met hers, steady, warm, unwavering. A bond had formed that went beyond words, beyond gestures. The room seemed to glow with their quiet connection. Shadows lengthened, casting soft patterns across the floor. Emma felt a deep calm settle in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced before. It was trust, it was comfort, it was knowing that someone, something, was there to see her, truly see her. And in that warm, golden light, the dog nudged her again, pressing his nose to her hand. Emma smiled, a slow, heartfelt smile. She understood now, he wasn't just a dog. He was a companion. A quiet guide. A presence that would walk beside her, through every silent moment, every hesitant thought, every unspoken feeling. And as the first hints of evening touched the sky, Emma felt something stir inside her, a quiet anticipation. The days ahead, the moments they would share, promised discoveries she could not yet name. Because their connection was only just beginning. The morning air carried a crisp freshness as Emma stepped into the small garden behind her house. Leaves rustled softly under her feet, the colors of autumn painting the world in muted golds and reds. The dog followed closely, tail wagging slowly, eyes attentive. Every step he took seemed deliberate, guiding her without urgency. Emma paused at the edge of the flower bed, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Where are we going?" she asked softly, though she already felt the answer in the gentle tug of his presence. He didn't answer with words. Instead, he nudged her hand lightly and moved a few steps forward, looking back as if to say, "Follow me." Curiosity fluttered in her chest. The garden had always been a place she visited quietly, yet today felt different. Today, it held a quiet promise. With each step, the dog led her past familiar shrubs and flowers, toward a secluded corner she rarely noticed. Sunlight streamed through the branches, casting dappled patterns on the ground. A soft breeze carried the scent of earth and fallen leaves. The dog paused beside a small stone bench, tilting his head toward it. Emma approached slowly, kneeling to look beneath the foliage. There, half hidden by a cluster of golden chrysanthemums, lay a small wooden box. Its surface was smooth, worn by time, yet clearly cared for. Her fingers trembled slightly as she reached for it. The dog sat patiently, watching her with steady eyes. Emma opened the lid gently. Inside, she found letters, carefully folded and tied with faded ribbons. Her heart skipped a beat. She didn't yet know the significance, but she felt its weight, the quiet importance of the discovery. You led me here?" she whispered, glancing at the dog. He tilted his head, as if affirming her thought. The realization settled warmly in her chest. He hadn't just brought her outside. He had guided her to something meaningful, something she needed to see. She lifted a letter, untied the ribbon carefully. The handwriting was delicate, flowing, almost musical. As she read the first lines, warmth spread through her chest. Words that had been forgotten, memories that had lingered quietly, seemed to awaken. She realized these letters were from her mother, written years ago, meant to comfort, to guide, to reach Emma in moments she might need it most. Tears pricked her eyes, soft and unhurried. The dog nudged her hand again, a gentle reassurance. He stayed close, silent, steady. Emma realized she had never felt so supported. Not by a person, but by this small, golden presence that understood her so completely. She read slowly, savoring each line, letting the words sink in. They spoke of courage, of quiet strength, of believing in oneself even when no one else seemed to understand. Emma traced the letters with her fingers, absorbing their warmth, their care. The dog sat beside her, leaning into her side as she breathed in the scent of earth, leaves, and something familiar, love. A realization blossomed. This discovery, this gentle reveal, had been waiting for her all along. And somehow, the dog had known. Somehow, he had understood that she needed to find this moment, to connect with the comfort and guidance left for her. Emma pressed her forehead to the dog's soft fur. You knew," she whispered, voice trembling. "You knew I needed this." His tail thumped softly against the ground. Not excited, not urgent, just present. Reassuring. The garden felt warmer now, though the autumn air remained crisp. Sunlight streamed through the branches, highlighting the golden tones of the leaves and the soft fur of her companion. Emma took a deep breath, letting the quiet magic of the moment fill her chest. She realized something else, too. The dog's intuition was more than simple companionship. He was a guide through life's quiet revelations, a companion in the gentle uncovering of hidden truths. And this was only the beginning. As the breeze stirred the leaves and the light shifted across the garden, Emma felt a tender excitement. The world had unfolded softly before her, guided by the dog's silent understanding. She smiled, brushing her hand along his fur. "What you sensed has brought me exactly where I needed to be," she whispered. And in the quiet corner of the garden, Emma understood fully. Sometimes the heart knows before the mind does, and sometimes guidance comes in 4 gentle paws. The late afternoon sun cast long, honeyed beams across the garden, brushing the leaves in a warm, golden glow. Emma sat cross-legged beside the stone bench, letters spread gently before her. Each ribbon bundle carried voices from the past, words meant to soothe, to guide, to be found when she needed them most. Her hands trembled slightly as she reached for another, the dog resting quietly at her side, eyes steady and calm. He nudged her hand with his nose, a gentle prompt, patient and unwavering. Emma looked down at him, realizing once again the depth of his understanding. He had guided her here, to this quiet corner of the garden, to the heart of something she hadn't known she was missing. Her chest tightened as she unfolded a letter, the familiar handwriting revealing soft, loving words from her mother. Words of encouragement, words of faith in her own quiet strength. Tears brimmed in Emma's eyes. She pressed a hand to her mouth, overwhelmed by the love and care captured in ink so long ago. The dog shifted closer, resting his head gently against her knee. His warmth radiated into her chest, grounding her. She leaned into him, letting her emotions flow freely. For the first time in a long while, she didn't have to hold herself together. The dog's presence made it possible to feel fully, openly, without hesitation. Softly, Emma whispered, I've been so scared of failing, scared of being alone. Her voice broke, but the dog remained silent, steady, accepting. His eyes met hers, patient and kind, as if to say, "You are not alone. You never were." A breeze stirred the golden leaves above, carrying the scent of earth and fading flowers. Emma traced her fingers along the edges of the letters, inhaling the warmth of the words. She felt a shift inside, subtle at first, then stronger, a gentle release of the tension that had clung to her for so long. The dog leaned further, nudging her hand once more, encouraging her to rise. Emma stood slowly, holding the letters to her chest. She glanced around the garden, seeing it not just as a collection of plants and paths, but as a sanctuary shaped by light, love, and quiet revelation. You helped me find this," she whispered to the dog. "I don't know how, but you knew I needed it." His tail thumped softly against the ground, a slow, comforting rhythm. Emma walked slowly to the center of the garden, letters clutched gently, the dog trailing closely. The sunlight shifted, casting long, serene shadows across the path. Every step she took felt lighter, freer, as if the weight of unspoken fears was lifting, replaced by warmth and trust. She paused beneath a tall maple tree, its branches golden with autumn leaves. The dog sat beside her, looking up with eyes that seemed to understand the unspoken depths of her heart. Emma breathed deeply, letting the crisp air fill her lungs, letting the quiet strength of the dog seep into her spirit. For a long moment, they remained there in silence, the world outside the garden fading to a gentle hum. Emma felt tears slide down her cheeks, soft and unhurried, each one carrying away a fragment of fear and uncertainty. I think I understand now," she whispered. I can trust myself, and I can trust you." She smiled, a slow, heartfelt smile. "You're more than a friend, you're part of me now." The dog nudged her hand one last time, resting his head on her shoulder as she leaned against him. The garden held them in a golden embrace, quiet and protective. The letters, the sunlight, the soft rustle of leaves, they all converged into a single moment of understanding and release. Emma looked down at the dog, eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you for guiding me. For being here." His steady gaze seemed to say, "I always will be." And in that quiet, golden light, Emma realized something she had not fully understood before. Sometimes the heart needs gentle guidance to face its own truths. Sometimes it takes a quiet companion, patient and intuitive, to help unravel fear and awaken courage. The dog's presence had led her through the journey, each step deliberate, each movement filled with love. And now, standing in the garden, letters in hand, heart open and lightened, Emma knew she had crossed a threshold, a turning point from uncertainty to clarity, from hesitation to quiet confidence. What he sensed had guided her to her own inner strength. The sun had begun its slow descent, painting the sky in soft shades of amber and rose. Golden light spilled across the garden, illuminating the leaves and casting long, gentle shadows on the stone path. Emma sat on the wooden bench, letters in her lap, while the dog rested beside her, head gently propped on her knee. She lifted a letter she had not yet read, her fingers tracing the edges carefully. The handwriting was familiar, flowing, and full of warmth. As she read the words, a deep understanding settled over her. These letters, meant for moments like this, carried more than advice, they carried love, faith, and the gentle affirmation that she was never truly alone. Her chest tightened with emotion. I didn't know how much I needed this," she whispered, voice soft, trembling with awe. The dog leaned into her, a small nudge of reassurance, as if acknowledging her realization. Emma looked up, eyes meeting his steady gaze. In that moment, clarity washed over her. The dog's presence had not only guided her to the letters, he had guided her to herself. To her own strength, her own courage, her own capacity to trust and to feel deeply. Tears slid down her cheeks, warm and unhurried. She pressed her forehead to his soft fur. You brought me here, not just to these letters, but to me." The dog rested calmly, breathing softly, fully present. No judgment. No haste. Only quiet understanding. The garden seemed to hold its breath with her, leaves still, sunlight lingering like a protective embrace. Every rustle of the branches, every whisper of wind, felt like part of the revelation, soft punctuation to the truth unfolding within her heart. Emma slowly unfolded another letter, this one smaller, tied with a faded blue ribbon. The words inside spoke of resilience, of the quiet power of patience and love, of trusting oneself even when the world seemed uncertain. As she read, a warmth spread through her chest, filling the spaces that had once held doubt and hesitation. The dog nudged her hand again, eyes meeting hers with gentle affirmation. She realized the truth was simple, yet profound. She had always been seen, always been understood, even in moments she felt invisible. And the dog had been her guide to this realization, a silent companion showing her the way to trust, to comfort, and to connection. Emma laughed softly, a sound like wind through autumn leaves. "It's you, isn't it?" she murmured, brushing a hand across his ears. "You understood before I did. You've been here all along, helping me see the truth." He leaned further, pressing his nose against her hand, tail moving slowly, a quiet rhythm of agreement. She stood, letters clutched gently, and took a slow walk through the garden. The dog followed closely, always beside her, always aware. With each step, Emma felt a sense of completeness she hadn't known she could feel. The fear, the doubt, the quiet loneliness, they had all been softened by his presence. Emma paused beneath the tall maple tree where sunlight filtered through golden leaves. She knelt, pressing her hand against the dog's side. "Thank you, for helping me find this, for helping me find me," she whispered. His eyes met hers, steady and warm, filled with unspoken understanding. For the first time, Emma truly understood the bond she shared with him. It was more than companionship. More than guidance. It was love in its purest form, patient, unwavering, intuitive, and kind. A love that didn't demand anything, but gave everything. The garden seemed to glow in response, the golden light accentuating the soft fur, the warm smiles, the quiet understanding. Emma held the dog close, resting her head lightly against him. For a moment, time slowed, letting the revelation settle deeply within her heart. And she knew, without doubt, that this connection, this gentle, profound bond, would carry her forward. Through silent moments, through questions without answers, through life's uncertainties, she would never be truly alone. The dog lifted his head, tail swishing slowly, and nudged her gently toward the stone bench. Emma smiled, understanding the gesture. Sometimes, the heart's truths are revealed not through words, but through presence, through love, and through the quiet guidance of someone who sees and understands without question. What he sensed had guided her to the most beautiful truth, that she was seen, understood, and deeply, warmly loved. The sky had softened into a gentle twilight, painted with dusky pinks and muted golds. The garden, now bathed in the calm glow of evening, seemed to exhale along with Emma. She sat on the stone bench, letters gently stacked beside her, the dog resting at her feet. His warm fur brushed against her shoes, steady and reassuring. Emma closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling the crisp, sweet air. Each breath carried the scent of autumn leaves, the faint warmth of sun-warmed earth, and the quiet comfort of companionship. The world felt still, balanced, complete. The dog lifted his head and looked up at her, eyes filled with soft intelligence and quiet understanding. Emma reached down and placed her hand on his head. You've changed everything," she whispered. "Not just today, but always." His tail thumped slowly, a gentle rhythm of agreement. She leaned back, letting her fingers brush along his back. Every muscle relaxed, every worry that had seemed so heavy before had melted into the evening. The garden had become a sanctuary, a place where silence carried meaning, and presence carried love. Emma thought about the letters she had discovered, about the wisdom and care they contained. She thought about the quiet mornings, the afternoons spent sketching and talking softly to the dog, the moments of gentle guidance that had led her here. And she realized something profound. She had not only found comfort, she had found herself. The dog rose and nudged her hand again, coaxing her to her feet. She laughed softly, a sound full of warmth and release. Together, they wandered slowly through the garden, following the winding stone path as the last rays of sun filtered through the trees. Emma paused beneath the tallest maple, leaves brushing against her face like soft whispers. The dog sat beside her, steady and loyal. She rested a hand on his head, feeling the warmth radiate through her. "I think I understand now," she murmured. "Life isn't just about words, or plans, or fears. It's about being present, about noticing, about feeling." He tilted his head slightly, ears attentive. Emma smiled through the tears that had returned, gentle and quiet. "And having someone who understands, even without words, makes all the difference," she whispered. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of deep rose and gold. The garden's shadows stretched long and soft, wrapping Emma and the dog in a cocoon of calm. She sat back on the bench, resting her head against his side. The warmth of his body was a comforting rhythm, steady and real, grounding her in a way she had never known. Emma let her thoughts drift. She reflected on the journey of the day, on the discovery of the letters, on the quiet companionship that had guided her through uncertainty. She realized that healing didn't always come in grand gestures or loud moments, it came in gentle nudges, patient guidance, and the quiet presence of someone who truly sees you. The dog nudged her hand one last time, then settled down fully, curling his body around hers in a protective, reassuring embrace. Emma leaned her cheek against his fur, eyes closing, feeling a peace she hadn't felt in months. "I think I'm ready now," she whispered softly. "Ready to trust, ready to be brave, ready to feel, fully." The garden held them in quiet serenity. Leaves swayed gently in the evening breeze. The world outside continued in its rhythms, but here, in this soft golden twilight, time seemed to pause. Emma's heart had opened, her soul had healed, and the bond she shared with the dog had deepened into something unspoken yet indestructible. She smiled faintly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Thank you, for being here, for showing me the way, for understanding me." The dog rested his head on her lap, tail wagging slowly, content, present, whole. The sky darkened further, stars beginning to twinkle faintly above. Emma and the dog remained in the quiet embrace of the garden, letting the serenity and warmth of the moment sink into their bones. Every soft rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind, every golden shadow was a reminder that she was seen, she was loved, and she was never truly alone. And as night settled fully over the garden, Emma pressed her hand to the dog's fur once more, whispering, "We'll face the world together, silently, quietly, with understanding." The dog nudged her gently in response, eyes calm and full of warmth. Together, they sat in peaceful companionship, the garden, the letters, and the twilight holding them in a cocoon of love and quiet revelation. What he sensed had led her to healing, to understanding, and to a love that needed no words. And in that soft, serene night, Emma knew she would always carry the lessons of this day, and the warmth of this connection, wherever life might lead.